Alright guys, I'm going to forewarn you first that you need your calculator and that this problem is a wee bit long. But bear with me, alright guys? Oops, sorry. Okay, first of all, you're going to compare the degrees of f of x and g of x. The degree of f of x is 2. Remember, we're looking at the exponent. The degree of f of d of x is 3. Remember, we're looking at the exponent. Now, are the factors linear or are the factors quadratic? So now we have to factor this denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to factor out the denominator. Now, the way you have to factor this is you have to combine these two parts. So x cubed plus x squared, what factor they have in common? They have in common x squared, leaving me an x plus 1. And 2x plus 2, what do they have in common? They have in common a factor of 2, leaving me x plus 1. So what do these two have in common? They both have a common factor of x plus 1, leaving me x squared plus 2. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to rewrite this problem as negative x squared plus 3x plus 1 over x plus 1 times x squared plus 2. Okay, if I notice this first one is linear and the second one is quadratic. Alright, so where do I go from here? Well, if I look, I have a linear factor and I have a quadratic factor. So how I'm going to write this is going to be equal to, for the linear factor, I have a constant on top, which is just going to be a over x plus 1, plus, for the quadratic function, you have to have a linear numerator. So since this is quadratic, a linear numerator is going to look like bx plus c. Kind of reminds you of mx plus b. We're just going to use b and c over x squared plus 2. Okay, so from here you just go back to the things that you have been doing. So how do I solve this? I need to solve for a and b. So the first thing I'm going to do is anytime you're solving, let's get rid of the denominator. So I'm going to multiply it by x plus 1 over x squared plus 2. When I multiply to the first one, the whole denominator cancels, leaving me negative x squared plus 3x plus 1 equals, when I multiply here, it's going to leave me a times x squared plus 2, plus when I multiply here, it's going to leave me bx plus c times x plus 1. The important thing I'm going to tell you to do is make sure that you do this in parentheses, because this is the whole numerator. So now I'm going to kind of simplify things out. Here in the first part, I'm going to distribute. And for the second part, I'm going to distribute. So this is going to give me bx squared plus bx plus cx plus c. Okay guys, from here you're going to have to just find things that are alike and watch as I go. A negative x squared, what has x squared in it? The ax squared and the bx squared. So I'm going to say negative x squared equals ax squared plus bx squared. Now, what has just x? The 3x, and then I have a bx, and I have a cx. So I have 3x squared equals, oops, I'm sorry, I have just 3x. So, whoops, so the 3x is equal to the bx plus the cx. And then my last equation here is going to be just this constant of 1, which would be 2a, and then just the c. Remember, there's no variables with this 2a and with this c. So I'm going to have 1 is equal to 2a plus c. Now what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to take this first equation and I'm going to kind of transform it right here. So negative x squared equals, I'm going to factor out x squared, leaving me a plus b, and then you divide out by the x squared to both sides. So negative 1 is equal to just a plus b. Now I'm going to take this one over here, and I have 3x equals, I'm going to factor out the x, leaving me b plus c, divide out by x, and divide out by x, so 3 equals b plus c. Alright, I have 3 equations as well as 3 unknowns. So I'm going to write out my equations here. I'm going to put them back in order. First equation was negative 1 equals a plus b. My second equation is going to be 3 equals b plus c. And my last equation is going to be 1 equals 2a plus c. And I need every bit of room, so I'm going to move this up here. Next, I'm going to rewrite these in matrix form, and that's why you need your calculator. So, or I'm going to expand these. So I'm going to say negative 1 equals, now you have to have something for every variable, every letter. So 1a plus 1b plus 0 c's. 3 is equal to 0 a's plus 1b plus 1c. And 1 is equal to 2 a's plus 0 b's plus 1c. Now I'm going to change these to matrices. My first matrix is negative 1, 3, and 1. And that is equal to, this is going to be the coefficient of every letter. 1, 1, and 0. And this is going to be 0, 1, and 1, 2, 0, and 1. And your last matrix is going to be the variables matrix. A, B, B, and C. Alright, for purposes on your calculator, I'm going to label this matrix A, matrix B, and matrix C. Alright, in order to solve for matrix C, which is the variables, the letters that you need, A, B, and C, you're going to have to multiply by the inverse. Remember that inverses are going to kind of cancel each other out. So when you multiply by the inverse of B over here, they're going to cancel out, just leaving you C. The important thing is the inverse was multiplied on the left side, so you have to multiply by the inverse on the left side. If you don't, you're not going to get the right answer. So C is going to be equal to B, the inverse, times A. So what you're going to do in your calculator is you're going to put B into your calculator, A into the calculator's matrices, and then you're going to do B inverse times A. So here's what I would get. C, the matrix C, which remember represents the A, the B, and the C, you will get negative 1, 0, and 3. So that tells me that A is equal to negative 1, B is equal to 0, and C is equal to 3. Now, how does that apply back to your problem? Go back to the very beginning. Remember, I'm taking from right here. So, A over x plus 1 plus bx plus c over x squared plus c. Guys, what I'll do in a minute on the next one is show you how to multiply these in your calculator. So what was A? A was negative 1 over x plus 1 plus B was 0, x plus C is 3. Oops, there should be a C right here. Over x squared plus, this should be a 2. Plus 2. 0 times x is really just 0, so I'm going to have negative 1 over x plus 1 plus 3 over x squared plus 2. And guys, that is it. That's your final answer right here. Alright, thanks. And I'll show you how to multiply matrices in just a second.